Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. We're proud, happy, and thrilled that you're with us. So come on in and sit down. Let's talk about your life and relationships with your family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, your boss. Well, when you get back there. Nobody's off limits. I'm licensed psychologist Dr. Claudia McCulloch, your host, answering your questions, America. So give me a call. Don't be shy. 833-400-5050. You can also go online, if you're shy, and ask me a question over the Ask Me button at drclaudia.net. On Facebook, I'm at Claudia McCulloch. That's McCulloch. Cha-cha-cha. Okay, our first caller up, as promised, is Denise.
Hello, Dr. Claudia.
How are you?
My question is, I've been married for about 15 years now, and my husband and I are not great communicators. I know it's an aspect of our relationship that we need to work on. Issues happen, and then we just have this sort of passive-aggressive dagger eyes throughout the house until somebody caves. That's just the way that we work. It's worked for 15 years, but it's getting less and less helpful as we go.
Yes.
Of course, now that we're in this quarantine situation, it's even worse. We're around each other constantly making dagger eyes. There's no reprieve. We're both very stubborn. Nobody's giving up.
Now,
I don't.
What?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a couple of questions about his hardware and his software. Do you know if he ever had a history of language processing problems or ADHD?
Yes, he was absolutely ADHD.
Okay. Now, when you wrote your email about this, you said basically what he does is he just says, well, I guess I'm just a jerk then, and then he stomps off. One of the things that people don't understand about ADHD is slow processing speed is a huge problem, and we girls love to talk. When we start talking, the dopamine starts dumping, and we're so rewarded, and we just love it, and we keep on talking, and we tend to, and I am at the front of this parade, let me tell you, we mow our men down with our words. And he's kind of given up and has disengaged. Now, it's not our fault, but it's our responsibility. The marriages that are most satisfying for many years are those marriages where we have a process for sitting down and talking to each other. And what I say is that is the serious conversation at the serious table. In that way, we're not doing two things at once, and we actually give them time to listen and to respond, and he knows you're going to hear him. What might be happening now from the thousands of marriages that I've been involved with, if you will, men just give up. And we tend to also kind of treat them like our children, and we're always telling them things to do because, life trains us that way. And so it's time to sit down and rip off the Band-Aid and say, we're hurting each other this way. This doesn't feel good to either one of us. When these kids are grown and gone, baby, it's just going to be you and me, and we better work this out now. If we can train him the way he trains us, to do the dagger eyes, because he doesn't have anything to say because we talk so fast. If we can say to him, you know what, it's going to be safe. When we have an issue, whatever we're doing, we're going to stop it, and we're going to sit down and say, okay, what do you think we should do? Here's what I think we should do. Where can we meet in the middle on this? And actually teach him that he has a voice and that you're going to listen to him because this stuff isn't healthy.
Right.
Is that doable?
Yeah.
I know. Do you have children?
Yes, we have two little ones.
Okay. How old are they?
They're 7 and 8.
Okay. Now, 7 and 8 years old. The 8-year-old my experience is that no kid has ever come into my office who wasn't 8 years old, and the parents say, I think this kid's really anxious. At 8 years old, at 8 years old, they really start to put stuff together. Their brain is growing like a galloping gazelle. They notice everything. Our kid was 8 years old. My husband and I were talking about Christmas gifts in the kitchen. We were whispering, and he was all the way across the house. House was small anyway, but he said, I don't want that. They hear and see everything, but they're great observers, but they don't understand what they see. Now, what do you think this is teaching your 7 and 8 year olds?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing good. Nothing good. So you and your husband are obviously in love. You, from the way you described it, it's a huge issue. Now, just because he's an adult doesn't mean he can't be treated for ADHD. So just know that. If you get the book Driven to Distraction, what was written 100 years ago by Edward Hallowell and his business partner, John Ratty, both of who are psychiatrists at Harvard, and they discovered, hey, we've got ADHD. They're the ones who gave us permission to diagnose adults with their own ADHD. Life isn't easy for this man. And he probably is gulping water every day to keep up. And the older the kids get, the more demands for the scary stuff. I mean, he's got to always be problem solving. They need more. They want more. He's required to do more with them. And you may be, fluffing up your tutu and going through life because you've got that wicked, smart female brain. So I'm asking you to take the lead on a couple of things. And that is, sit down with him and repair the relationship. You got a long way to go. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's a long haul here.
Yeah.
And encourage him to think about being treated for ADHD. It is, I have told so many parents, it's the most devastating diagnosis I can make because we have a tendency to poo-poo it. Oh, we're all a little ADHD. You're right. I'm a little ADHD from time to time too, but it doesn't interfere with my functioning. And if you go on a site called ADDA, it's Attention Deficit Disorder of America or something like that. It's actually mostly for adults. Now, he's not going to go to any of the meetings or anything, but if you have a really competent adult psychiatrist in your community, talk to that person and say, I think my husband could benefit from this. Now, your husband's going to say, well, you're accusing me of everything, and yes, I'm defective or whatever. We got to change his attitude about this. This is a neurological condition. And if he is going to be around to remember to pick up the kids after soccer and to really be a supportive team member with you, we got to treat this stuff. It's absolutely devastating. And I know my husband doesn't care if I tell you this, but I diagnosed him when he was 50. Now, I know I don't have any business doing that, but, it was either that or I was going to slam him against the wall because his memory was shot. So many things were going on. And finally he said, I think this is what's been going on with me, throughout my childhood. And he went to see a psychiatrist and he got medication. And I got to tell you, first thing in the morning, he takes that stuff because he'll say, my brain isn't turned on. Now, Denise, if you need to give us a call back and let us know what's happening or you need a little support for the next step, you got to repair the relationship and you got to get this man treated because we love him. We want his life to be as good as it can be. And right now, it just isn't. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
What kind of career are you looking for? Do you dream of using your creative talents in the movie business? How about the advertising world? Or would you rather work in fashion? At Academy of Art University, we can help you get the art and design skills and experiences that employers want. Hundreds of top companies in the Bay Area and around the world have hired graduates from the Academy. You'll be trained by professional faculty members that have worked in the industry, so your education is practical and focused on what real-world companies want. You can get your degree at our San Francisco campus or anywhere online. Do what you want to do with your life. Call right now to get more information.
800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. That's 800-811-4169.
Are you from California, Illinois, New York, Georgia, or any of the other 39 states that charge state income tax? Does your state claim you owe them any amount of back taxes? Or have you not filed in years? Is your heart pounding because you know they're wrong or you just don't have the money? Don't fight the state income tax board alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you. The state is much more aggressive than the IRS in collecting taxes. They have the power to take your home, your car, your driver's and business licenses, even garnish your wages, freeze your bank accounts, and go after your spouse. Solve all your income tax problems permanently and keep more of your hard-earned money. Make this 100% guaranteed risk-free call right now.
800-262-4182. 800-262-4182. 800-262-4182. That's 800-262-4182.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Welcome back. This is the Dr. Claudia Show, and here we talk about your life and your relationships, the things that really matter, right? Here's Cecilia. She says, I'm in a terrible spot. I just can't take my husband's last name when we're married in October. When my first name is said with his last name, it sounds very close to a seriously profane word. I'm not giving you my real first name because I don't want to be recognized. Clearly, our names can't be changed, but I can't see taking his name. It's going to be difficult enough with our kids taking on his name. I haven't discussed this with him yet. I do have to confess that I almost didn't go out with him because of his name. I haven't told him this either. What can I do without hurting his feelings? Okay, let's just jump right into this. Here is the danger of making an assumption. There are lots of things we can't control, our last names, until we get old enough to change them, right? You've got to sit down with him, Cecilia. Look him in the eyes. Tell him how much you love him, but that this is not something that you can do. And let him know. Can you hear this, honey? When we say my name and your name, what this sounds like. He has been acclimated to this name all of his life. It doesn't mean anything to him other than his name. But your ear hears it differently. Then talk about the potential impact on your children. Now, he may come out and say to you, I was bullied terribly for my name, and you're right. I don't think I can saddle the kids with this. If he has siblings, how did they handle it? Did they keep their names? Did they change their last name? Did their spouses change their names? I mean, names are really powerful things. They're just like faces. This is how we identify ourselves. Now ask him, is it possible to change our name? Here we are, we're just getting married. It's either now or never. And if we don't change your last name, then I'm not going to take it. I'm just not going to put up with this. This is something we can control. And yes, your parents, if they're still alive, are going to be upset with us. And maybe you just change part of the name. You keep part and you get rid of the rest of it. I've actually never had this question, but I'm certain there are people listening right now saying, oh man, I wish I had had the courage to change this name. It still stings when I hear it. And I don't like this last name. It's whatever their complaint is about it. Now, his family may see this as a rejection of the family name, and that would be an appropriate take on it. But you've got to be ready, Cecilia, because they're going to blame you. And frankly, you're the one putting forth this whole idea. Let's think about what his mother is going to say. Well, I took my husband's name. Why can't you? Well, because I don't like it. It sounds like a vulgar word when I say my name, first name, and his last name. I'm not going to live my life like that. So I think that you and your fiance need to have the serious talk at the serious table and come to a decision that the both of you can at least feel confident for your kids, right? And this may be the first time his parents ever knew that he was teased for his name. So we're going to be ripping off a lot of Band-Aids here. And I do believe that you will forever be blamed for this. As people fade off of the earth, it's not likely to continue to be a problem, especially since it's likely to be a positive outcome for your children. He's got to present this to his family as his decision, his idea. I was really bullied. Maybe his siblings will finally confess to being bullied over the last name, and that I'm not going to leave my children with this name and subject them to that because bullying has become more or less a blood sport. As for you, my dear Cecilia, you are going to have to make yourself bulletproof. Get out your Wonder Woman bracelets. Anybody says something to you about, well, we know you were really behind all of this. That's how it sounds when the in-laws are in my ears, right? You have a scripted response that you give over and over and over. My husband and I discussed it. This is the decision we made. Thank you for your input. Yeah, thank you, not thank you, right? Don't take the bait. They're likely to be upset because they didn't have your courage and they didn't make the decision. And this is a painful decision. So it's going to be interesting at the wedding, too, when everyone knows him by a different name and your minister says, I am pleased to announce the new Mr. and Mrs. whatever, and people are going to go, huh, what? So you're going to have to let people know. Let's don't leave them to figure it out for themselves. So if he decides that he says, I don't have a problem with my name, you have to make a decision. Do you want your kids bullied over this, or are you going to take the name? None of this is easy. Nobody said that it was going to be easy, but for you, this is a unique situation. Good luck with this, and let us know how it all turns out, because I am truly curious. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. Here's what our customers had to say.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
If you're testing your blood sugar 4 or more times per day, injecting insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, a CGM can help you. It's accurate, easy to use, and if you have Medicare, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Plus, get free shipping of your new CGM, and we can bill Medicare for you.
Honestly, I had my doubts, but that new CGM is painless.
Call now. 800-712-8002. 800-712-8002. 800-712-8002. That's 800-712-8002.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. Here's Dr. Claudia.
I'm Dr. Claudia McCulloch. I'm a licensed psychologist. I am here to answer your questions. I don't care what it is. Just give me a call, 833-400-5050. I know you have questions because you send me questions over the drclaudia.net Ask Me button, and I see a timestamp on them. So you're not sleeping. You're probably staying up too late watching too much television. Okay, here we go. Here's Emery. She says, I'm really at the end of my rope on this weight thing. The lockdown, paired with anxiety, hasn't helped me one little bit. I haven't been eating a lot because I don't eat when I'm stressed, thankfully. Before you answer, just know that I have done everything from diet and exercise to hypnosis and behavioral training. I've had a full physical and even saw an endocrinologist to determine if I have a metabolic issue. That's like thyroid and diabetes. The only conclusion was that my metabolism is slower than expected, which might mean diabetes as I age. I was told to lose weight. Okay, I've done it all according to my doctors. What else is out there? Well, anything that I might suggest to you, of course, Emery, you absolutely have to clear with your physician. I'm wondering if you, and you didn't mention this, if you have tried the intermittent fasting, which is where you fast, for example, for 16 hours and you eat for 8 hours during an 8-hour period. And I don't mean, you're doing drive-through fast food just because, hey, I'm not going to eat the rest of the day, so let me do this. Fasting really comes from our prehistoric ancestors, our ancient ancestors, who obviously did not have a lot of food available to them. And they walked about 10 miles a day, apparently. So between those two things, they stayed pretty lean. What I do is I don't eat after 8 o'clock, and then I don't eat again until noon. And for, most of that time, I'm sleeping. So it's not as difficult as you might think, especially if you get hungry. Just drink a big glass of water. We all pretty much stay in a stage of dehydration anyway, so let's do that. My primary care physician wasn't excited about that because she said, well, this could mess with your blood sugar levels. Quite honestly, I don't crave sugar anymore since I've done this, so I got rid of that mess. He said, though, she said, if you get hungry, though, don't let yourself get lightheaded. And yeah, so every now and then I have like a cup of tea or whatever, but I experimented with this until I got to a point where I knew what I needed to do. So there's that. And it's not really doing anything. It's not weighing and measuring and going to meetings and all that stuff. It's maintaining a pretty healthy diet for the 8 hours where you're really basically working and being awake. So I read this concept about this weighted vest. Wait till you hear this. These researchers in Sweden said, what is the problem with sitting all the time? And now that we're not a society who, for the most part, is out working physically, they said, why is sitting so much killing people? Now, considering that, I think, what are we streaming, like 8 hours more of web content and television programming, 8 hours more than what we usually consume. We're all in trouble. But what these researchers said is when you sit, your body has an internal scale. And if you sit so long, obviously you are taking a lot of pressure off your legs. And so your body is saying, hey, you don't weigh very much. You're in trouble. So I am going to hold on to a lot of those calories because I think you're dying of starvation. So there we go. The metabolism goes into a famine mode. Now, there was another research study I read about a while ago that people who weigh themselves every day, their weight kind of stays conscious in their minds. And so they become very aware of what they eat. And they have been able to keep the weight off after a year and 5 years. Because most people gain their weight back in a year. But what happened in this research study is they paired off two groups of people. And one group wore a vest that weighed about 2 pounds, and the other group wore a vest weighing about 24 pounds. And in 3 weeks, the people who wore the vest for 8 hours a day, which is obviously pretty inconvenient, they lost 4 pounds in just 3 weeks. The people who wore the 2-pound vest basically lost about 2/3 of a pound. And what they're doing is they actually did the study as a proof of concept. Is this really for real? And now that they have decided there's something to this whole idea of standing up and not sitting on your tush every day, they're going to be doing more research. So a standing desk at work, resist sitting down as much as possible. Obviously, it's probably a good idea to sit down and eat, but not in front of the TV or the computer because you lose track of how much you eat. But with these people who wore both of these vests, the fat was reduced, but the muscle mass was not. So it's saying that this vest, and this is kind of a passive way of losing weight, the vest was exerting pressure on the body saying, okay, I'm really working here. And the kinds of fat loss that they saw was greater than what's usually seen for physical training. So I'm not asking you to put on your running shoes and get out there and hit the pavement. I'm asking you to just wear a vest. Now, I don't know where you can get these vests. The study didn't say. You might be able to make up something for yourself. But one of the things they were really concerned about is what kind of fat are we losing? Are we losing the stuff that's really super dangerous, that's clustered around our organs? Or is it the stuff just under the skin? So, stay tuned for more research. So this is a regulation system that the body has, and the body likes to achieve evenness. And when we sit down for extensive periods of time, it throws off the body's scales. And those scales say, you don't weigh as much as you did last night or whatever. And so, come on, I need you to eat something. And it makes perfect sense to me. The scientists were saying, we can guesstimate how much people are raising their weight by sitting per hour. And so if you stop and think about it, it's probably a good idea not to let your body sit too long, but to get up and move around. Even if it's just to stretch for a moment, just put the entire weight of your body on your feet. And maybe that's where the scale system is. Nobody knows this yet. But this is pretty interesting, and it's very new. So, like I said, don't run out and do this before you check with your doctor. In the meantime, you might want to take just a quick walk around the neighborhood with some 2-pound weights or 1-pound weights in each hand, just to give your body that added weight, so that maybe the scales that you're experiencing internally are reading that, hey, she's at the right weight. I'm going to start kicking up the metabolism because she's not starving to death. The weight control industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there's a reason why, because we're all looking for the answers. This could be one of them for you. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
What kind of career are you looking for? Do you dream of using your creative talents in the movie business? How about the advertising world? Or would you rather work in fashion? At Academy of Art University, we can help you get the art and design skills and experiences that employers want. Hundreds of top companies in the Bay Area and around the world have hired graduates from the Academy. You'll be trained by professional faculty members that have worked in the industry, so your education is practical and focused on what real-world companies want. You can get your degree at our San Francisco campus or anywhere online. Do what you want to do with your life. Call right now to get more information.
800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. That's 800-811-4169.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-506-6740. 800-506-6740. That's 800-506-6740.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Well, you can't do much about what's going on out there, but you sure can change your life. Yeah, you're looking forward to getting out there in the summertime? That starts next month. Slathering on some sunscreen and going to the beach, getting out. Gosh, this has been a tough road to hoe. Let me tell you, I just feel so bad for the kids graduating. They don't get to have all the goodies in life. I want to tell you, though, that Krispy Kreme tomorrow is offering a free dozen donuts for kids who are graduating. So go on in and see if you can get your big dozen. Who needs donuts at this point? But hey, I think it would be a lot of fun. So, I'm sorry. It's actually, tomorrow. I got my promotions mixed up here. Tomorrow, McDonald's is offering free fries on Friday. They're starting their free fry Friday promotion tomorrow. You get free fries with a minimum $1 purchase. It's next Tuesday. I knew that I wanted to say this today. Next Tuesday, members of the class of 2020 can stop by a participating Krispy Kreme and pick up a free dozen donuts specially designed for the grad. That's a great way to celebrate, isn't it? Okay. Here's Buddy. Buddy says, I'm worried that my wife is trying to tell me something. She says that she's too tired for romance, wink, wink. Is this just an excuse? I've asked her, and she just keeps saying that she's really too tired. She keeps trying to reassure me, but I don't want to wake up one day divorced. I know that she works really hard with her job, the kids, the house. I feel as though I'm coming in last here. What am I missing? I'm getting really anxious and I need some kind of strategy here. Okay, ladies, call in. I'll let you answer this question. And it's astonishing that people don't notice. Buddy, you're not noticing that she's tired. Forget that. Forget that. She is way beyond tired. She's exhausted. I'm wondering if is there a word beyond exhausted? Spent? Totally done? I don't know. And I think she's scared. When you are working this hard, she is working at her job. She's taking care of the family. She's taking care of the home. And you're right. Buddy, you are the last person on the list. And why do you think that is? Think about this. This woman is giving everything she's got. From the moment her eyes open in the morning and her feet hit the floor, she is moving and she's scared. She's not going to be able to cross the finish line, get the kids raised, get to retirement before she collapses from exhaustion. So really, buddy, think about it. What aspect of caring for the children can she cross off the list? Not doing the laundry? Not doing the grocery shopping? Not going to cook for them? We're going to be a brown bag family. We're going to get fast food every night. No, that's not acceptable. What are the requirements of her job that she can cross off? Well, no, none of those. What about the house? The house has to be, what did Irma Bombeck say? It has to be clean enough to be healthy and dirty enough to be happy. You see, she can't cross off anything but you, buddy. Everything, all of it's required. But you know that whole idea of, we only hurt the ones we love? She is counting on you to just suck it up and be the last. You're a constant. You're not going anywhere. You're the husband. You're the father. You're the fixture. She needs sleep. She needs a break. And what are you going to do about it? That's right. You've got to help. Sit down with her. Have the serious talk at the serious table. Do not ask her about romance. Well, honey, we haven't had a date night in a while. That is the furthest from her mind. Because all of her exhaustion, all of the stress, all of the gotta do, that is like throwing water on the fire. Here's how you need to ask her. You don't say, what can I do to help you? That's baloney. You're supposed to be in this with her, but for some reason, and I think I know what it is, she's so capable that she does everything, and you're like that kid waiting to get into the jump rope game, right? You're standing there trying to decide about the timing. You ask her, what needs to be done that I can do? Now, let me repeat that because I know you're going to forget. What needs to be done that I can do? So she's going to say, well, you don't know how to do this. You don't know how to do that. Well, I can learn. And I may not get it exactly right, but these kids, they'll tell me, you're not doing it the way mom does it. So I'll learn. I'll learn to be mama. But if you say to her, what can I do to help you? That kind of smacks of, well, you can't get the job done, so I guess I have to do something here. Let her know you've been reluctant to jump in. Give her that visual image of the jump rope, the frenzied jump rope. It's like going at warp speed. It's only a blur. And that, there's a little bit of me that says, honey, I'm going to fall on my face if I jump in and help. So I thought I'm just going to sit down with you and say, hey, what can I do here? Now, let's talk about what you think I can do to, without making a mess out of everything, to interfere with what you've got going on. But you have got to give this woman some support. She is so tired and so emotionally spent that she can't even make recommendations. Now, listen, for every hour that a woman gets of sleep, and an extra hour especially, she experiences a 14% increase for intimacy. And good sleep it's been shown to improve mood and energy and concentration and overall health. And if you don't get sleep, what do you get? Depression, anxiety, chronic stress, probably substance abuse. I mean, we risk heart attacks and strokes, but you're not going to tell her that. What you're going to say is, hey, I'm the dad here, and I need to know what I can be doing here to help the kids, to be closer with them. Ask her for a list. She may not be able to do it immediately, but it'll percolate down in her little noodling brain, and she'll come up with some ideas.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-506-6740. 800-506-6740. That's 800-506-6740.
You're listening to the Dr. Claudia Show. Your life, your relationships. A Smilecom Media production.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Sweet strawberry icing. You were strolling along in goodwill when just past that mid-century side table and denim jacket you spotted them, nestled in their display case. Miniature donut earrings. Oh, yes! Yes! Your favorite half-breakfast pastry, half-all-day dessert food, made into your favorite form of ear candy. Oh my. Those bejeweled sprinkles have satisfied some unknown hunger within you. Shh, do you smell that? That's the sugary scent of shopping success. For this is Goodwill. And with every item you buy, you fund local job training and more. So go forth. Bring home those donut earrings. And bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. We're tickled pink to have you with us. So come on in and sit down. Let's talk about your life and relationships with your family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, your boss. Nobody's off limits. I'm licensed psychologist Dr. Claudia McCulloch, your host, answering your questions, America. So give me a call at 833-400-5050, or you can go online at drclaudia.net. Click on the Ask Me button and send me a question. On Facebook, I'm at Dr. Claudia McCulloch, MCCULLOCH. Cha-cha-cha. Here's Jeff. Jeff says, for us, the only bright side of this lockdown situation is that we've had plenty of time to talk about and make plans about how we're going to do things differently. I get a lot of these same themes. It's like we're off the hamster wheel, and now we can actually think about life. He goes on to say, apparently, there were quite a few grievances that were never spoken. We're going to keep the conversation going by using the guidelines for family meetings that we found on your website. I know that probably one of the reasons most of us seem calmer is because we're not rushing around. That's one thing we're going to change, one activity at a time. I think I heard you talk about a young patient of yours who, for no obvious reason, became very concerned about her family having a fire. You gave some advice for that. Could you please tell me again? Having a fire plan is definitely on the list. And while we're still in mostly shutdown mode, we'd like to get on it and refine it once the fire department has time to help us. Okay, well, it sounds as though, Jeff, I bet that you have kids in elementary school. Because during elementary school years, their brains grow dramatically. And they hear things and see things, and it makes them fearful. But they can't always come right out and say, well, gee, I'm really afraid of this because. Now, you're right about that patient. Despite the deep investigation that the parents went through, there was nobody in the school who had a fire. They watched her television programming very carefully. Maybe she saw an advertisement somewhere. But this is what happens when kids are young. They observe everything, but they frequently have difficulty understanding it. So what happens is they get overwhelmed with fear. And then that's all they can talk about. And that's when we have to really pay attention to them and say, okay, what can we do to calm this with you? Now, I said to the parents, let's do first things first. Let's get a fire plan together. Go over to the fire department. Let them know. If you go face to face, it says that you really are taking this seriously. Now, I know the fire department is probably not up and running and doing these kinds of things right now, but you can always stop by with your mask on and ask them what they might be able to do. But this family, the dad took a floor plan over to the fire department. He kind of drew it out. And he said, what can we do here? Well, the battalion chief showed up. And he did the walkthrough for those of you who haven't heard this story. And he saw some sketchy wiring and said, you need to get an electrician in here. And so the kid completely calmed down and never really heard anything from them again. But the mom called and said, the fire chief had come over and we have this plan. And I said, well, if she continues with the anxiety, then there's something else going on. She didn't. No, problem solved. I thought it was really important to do the first things first kind of thing. Because if I don't need to engage your child in therapy, I'd rather avoid that. Let's problem solve. Now, there is a website that's called Safe Kids Worldwide. And after the show, I'm going to put up a show notes post on drclaudia.net that gives you the link to Safe Kids Worldwide. It has amazing resources. If you have 10 seconds, and I know you do because you're not running around as you usually are, just go look at it and see what kinds of information they have. It's about tornadoes and earthquakes and hurricanes and fires. And we really do need to pay attention to house fires because we have like 355,000 house fires a year. And half of those are caused by cooking. Now, 25% of men have started a fire in the kitchen. So what do you think is the first thing we're going to need? Yep, that's right, a fire extinguisher. And make sure, Jeff, that you get a couple of those, maybe the bigger ones for you and mom, or maybe teenage kids if you have them, maybe smaller ones for the younger kids, and teach them how to use it. And make sure that they stay recharged. It's something you might do whenever you change the batteries in the fire alarms. So 80% of Americans think that everybody in their family knows what to do in a fire. No, we don't. We don't because we don't train ourselves. And when you hear first responders being interviewed, how did you do that? Well, it was my training. They don't even think about it. It's automatic. Involve your kids in the process. Have them look around their rooms, decide which 2 ways can they get out, which way is going to be the safest. Determine the family safe meeting point outside. Let them know you never go back in for anything, ever. People who go back into a burning home die. People have to call 911. Know that a house fire doubles in size every minute, and within 5 minutes, a home can be completely engulfed. And if you look on Safe Kids Worldwide, I think this is where I got the timeline for what it looks like for those 5 minutes. And quite honestly, you pretty much have 2 minutes to get yourself and anything or anybody, including your pets, out of the home. After that, don't even think about it. The temperature in a burning home can be as high as 750 degrees. You know what? That's hotter than a pizza oven. You don't want to be in that. So I say that you actively install fire alarms where the police and the fire people tell you to. Because, you know, when there's a fire, everybody shows up, the police, the ambulances, everybody comes. And each month, you and your kids should test the smoke alarms. Make sure you get carbon monoxide alarms, too. Conduct daytime and nighttime drills. Nighttime, the world looks completely different out there. So by using a problem-solving approach with this and doing the drills, you will at least lay the foundation for kids being aware of fire. Make sure you have a list for each kid. No candles, no cooking on the front burners, got to be a back burner, no towels and those kinds of things near the stove. We just get so accustomed to this stuff being in our lives. You know, the stove is there. Well, we start to lose respect for the power of these things. And if your kid goes to someone's home to babysit, and it may feel a little awkward to you, but find out if they have a fire plan. Even if you mention it to another family, that may plant the seed of safety so that they go, hey, wait a minute, they have a fire plan. The babysitter has a fire plan. We've got to have one too. Because there's no such thing, Jeff, as rewinding life and saying, gee, I wish I would have done that differently. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Are you from California, Illinois, New York, Georgia, or any of the other 39 states that charge state income tax? Does your state claim you owe them any amount of back taxes? Or have you not filed in years? Is your heart pounding because you know they're wrong or you just don't have the money? Don't fight the state income tax board alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you. The state is much more aggressive than the IRS in collecting taxes. They have the power to take your home, your car, your driver's and business licenses, even garnish your wages, freeze your bank accounts, and go after your spouse. Solve all your income tax problems permanently and keep more of your hard-earned money. Make this 100% guaranteed risk-free call right now.
800-262-4182. 800-262-4182. 800-262-4182. That's 800-262-4182.
What kind of career are you looking for? Do you dream of using your creative talents in the movie business? How about the advertising world? Or would you rather work in fashion? At Academy of Art University, we can help you get the art and design skills and experiences that employers want. Hundreds of top companies in the Bay Area and around the world have hired graduates from the Academy. You'll be trained by professional faculty members that have worked in the industry, so your education is practical and focused on what real-world companies want. You can get your degree at our San Francisco campus or anywhere online. Do what you want to do with your life. Call right now to get more information.
800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. That's 800-811-4169.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. Here's Dr. Claudia.
We're having a great time here with the Dr. Claudia family of friends. You need to give us a call if you want to join the party. It's 833-400-5050. Come on, don't be shy. We're having fun here. I don't pick on anybody. Well, okay. I may have in the past, but... So here we go. We're opening up the world here in America. 1,000 Burger Kings, Popeyes, and Tim Hortons locations open their dining rooms across North America. That's right. Tim Horton is a Canadian country. I mean, it's a Canadian company. Good Lord. So Washington State, the restaurants are opening. And now they're ordered to keep a log of customers. How do you feel about that? This is why some lies are really convincing. Because a part of the lie is actually true. And what we want so much to do is to believe the entire lie. There's no question that social distancing mitigation has reduced the coronavirus ability to completely wipe out the country. But this whole idea of using this pandemic to keep track of our every movement is not sitting well with a lot of Americans. We would like to think, yes, let's not laugh here, but we would like to think that the government isn't tracking our every move. But we've all seen that series, Person of Interest, right? That was on, I think it was over about 5 years ago. But it was so fascinating about how the government was using all those surveillance cameras to track our every movement. And people would say, oh, it's because of safety. It's because of crime. But if we could actually trust the government to use this information in those limited ways, I don't think we'd all be nearly as concerned. So Washington Governor Jay Inslee has issued a set of coronavirus requirements that restaurants must abide by when they reopen, one of which requires them to create a daily log of their customers' comings and goings. In light of what I heard on another show, the director of ICUs, intensive care units, and general hospital services at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles, he is the first person I have heard to make sense of this. Let me tell you what I heard from him. He said that this virus, when we started treating it, we realized we could kill off the virus quickly, but what it left behind was a ticking bomb in the immune system. That's why the initial medications didn't work to completely wipe out all the symptoms. Because what this virus did was light up the immune system, causing super clotting of blood. So people were having amputations and they were dying of strokes and heart attacks. And it was creating something called vasculitis. You never want to hear that word in your life, but it's an inflammation of your blood vessels. Okay, that's not good. He said that this virus behaves in ways that we've never seen before, and it is tremendously infectious. He said this is why we got all these ventilators going, and the ventilators didn't really help, because we shouldn't have started out with antiviral medications. We should have started out with immune suppressant medications. Now, those are the kinds of drugs that are used when you get an organ transplant. It suppresses the immune system to keep it from rejecting a kidney, for example. But because the immune system has been lit up by this ticking time bomb, then all of those antivirals weren't working because, gee, we had already killed off the virus. But this is what I love about what he said. And he had to tell us how the virus worked before he could propose this. This is a cluster disease. Remember New Rochelle, when New York blew up with the coronavirus? That entire community was shut down. And he was saying this is exactly what has to happen. Once we open, and the only people who should be determining which community should open are medical people, not government people. Each doctor needs to have a voice in this. We need to know how many people are sick, how sick are they, where have they been? And if we see ramping up infections in a neighborhood, you shut down the neighborhood until this stuff can run its course. Now, in light of that, maybe this whole idea of when you go out somewhere, somebody takes your name. This is that community tracing stuff that you've heard Dr. Deborah Birx talk about. But it still comes down to, who do we trust? Well, I don't trust the government. I mean, my people haven't benefited from government interventions, the Native Americans. And my husband and brother were in Vietnam. So, yeah, up close and personal as to that kind of corruption. We all know it's there, right? And what do? We go into a restaurant in Washington State and say, I'm not giving you my name. I'm paying with cash. What are they going to do? Throw you out? Arrest you? You see what a slippery slope this is? But you have to make the decisions for yourself. We don't really know any of the truth of anything, because even when the media did their jobs, we were always suspicious, because our founding fathers said, hey, always be suspicious of government. And that the only time we're ever really protected is when the legislators aren't in the capitals of our states and the capital of our nation because they're not creating laws that further restrict our freedom. Just a little something to think about. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
What kind of career are you looking for? Do you dream of using your creative talents in the movie business? How about the advertising world? Or would you rather work in fashion? At Academy of Art University, we can help you get the art and design skills and experiences that employers want. Hundreds of top companies in the Bay Area and around the world have hired graduates from the Academy. You'll be trained by professional faculty members that have worked in the industry, so your education is practical and focused on what real-world companies want. You can get your degree at our San Francisco campus or anywhere online. Do what you want to do with your life. Call right now to get more information.
800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. That's 800-811-4169.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. Here's Dr. Claudia.
This is the Dr. Claudia Show with real help for your life. We learn from each other. Hearing those stories of how people have coped with this pandemic, it really inspires us. And what I'm hearing here is from Roger. Roger says, I'm not sure what's going on with me. I'm pretty scattered. I missed a telehealth appointment that I really needed to have because, frankly, I'm not keeping track of time. I'm concerned because it looks as though we'll be going back to work soon. I haven't heard anything about this from my company yet, and they gave up on the telecommuting because it just wasn't working out. I don't have the motivation or energy to do anything. I'm 33, and I feel as though I might never get my life back on track. Could I be depressed? I've never been depressed, but this might be what it feels like. Any options for me? Roger, look up the symptoms for depression and see if you fit. All you have to do is an online search that says depression screening. Look through, make sure you get it from a reputable website, the National Institutes of Health, WebMD, anything that looks like it's actually a professional site and not something that's going to throw you off track. You may be having an adjustment disorder because you're adjusting to a new situation. And it's not exactly a fabulously wonderful situation. It's not like we have an adjustment disorder for vacation because, yeehaw, we all want to go on vacation. But you've been isolated too long. Things are getting flabby. And it's not just your gut. It's your brain. Now, you're likely watching way too much television and online content. You are out of your usual routine. Honestly, since early March, people have been upping their television watching and consuming web content by 8 hours over their baseline. If you're the kind of person to watch 4 hours a day, now you're up to 12. And you're not being intellectually stimulated. Honestly, you don't have that whole fear factor going on. Late night watching has surged. Early morning watching? Nope, nothing. So this means that people are completely off their schedules. We need schedules, and we need purpose in our lives, and we need the worth of work. The worth of work. and I'm wondering if this is you. Maybe you heard me talk about, I think it was a parenting pointer that I did. You can access the parenting pointers on drclaudia.net. Last week, I think we recorded number 1,000. Now, don't let that throw you off. They're 60 seconds, and you can just go through them and zippity-doo-dah. There's lots of information, and then it's over. You can go on to the next one. Sometimes people write me notes at 3 a.m. saying, it's all your fault. I haven't been to bed. I've been reading all of your stuff. I like that, though. In this parenting pointer, I talked about how difficult it is for people to re-engage with work just after the weekend. 3-day weekends are killer, and vacations are very difficult to come back from, but you got to do it, right? Because unless you're independently wealthy, you got to go to work. I want you to print out a calendar of this month and hang it up so that you can look at it and orient yourself, because you no longer have your schedule, and probably weekends and weekdays are blurring all together because you're not rising and shining. You're not interacting with other people. So there's not that excitement/terror, depending on where you live and how you work. I want you to set your alarm clock for 11 a.m. I know that's ridiculous. But if you're staying up late at night and you're sleeping through most of the morning, you need to start at about 11. And then next week, back it down to 10:30, the next week to 10. You know where I'm going with this, because if you suddenly hear the ollie ollie in free and you've got to go back to work, which means you've got to get up at 6, you're going to be dangerous. I want you to get up and shower, eat without watching TV or scrolling on the phone. You can read fiction. Fiction is very good for your brain. I want you to get dressed in something other than sweats or pajamas. It's now okay to go out for the most part. Get a mask. Get out there. Even if you don't have anything you need or need to do, get outside. Get out there into nature. If you live in a concrete jungle, then get out and look at other people. Ask them how it's going. Connect with them. Oh, please, dear God, shave. Develop a schedule of things to do because, like I said, I think your brain has gotten lazy. Maybe you decide, well, we do have this big project coming up at work, which kind of got shelved for now. I'm going to read about that, get ready to go. Start looking at things that interest you. What I'm asking you to do is get activated. You've been passive for a really long time. And even if you go out to exercise, carry some light weights, start to build your endurance and your stamina, reach out to your friends, maybe schedule something at a local coffee shop where you can just sit down and see their faces and talk with them and laugh. I bet you haven't laughed. Bet you haven't done a lot of smiling. Nah, I know. Nobody can see your smile behind your mask, but they can see your little eyes crinkle up when you smile. Play games with other people online. Get something going. Get your heart rate up, okay? Now, if you watch TV, watch it purposefully. Watch a show you want to see. Watch something that educates you, teaches you something. But now you've gotten a lot of physical and emotional rest. I don't know if we're ever going to see this kind of event again in our lives. And if you've been listening to the show, you can hear how productively people have used this time. They've gotten off the hamster wheel for the most part. Many people have not been able to. But it's a time for evaluating your goals and your dreams, your objectives. Maybe it's time for you to sit down and say, where do I want to be in a year? Surely not at this job, or I'd love to be at this job, but I want a promotion. How am I going to get that done? How do I make that happen? How do I stand out? Well, as soon as you hit the door, you can start on on projects or life-enhancing activities for people. Maybe walking around, collecting some video of what did you do during the pandemic, and then, play it one day, and then you'll be seen as somewhat of a social leader. So, you know how we've promised ourselves that when I get the time, sure, I'm going to think about, maybe I do want to get an advanced degree. How do I do that? Okay, there's your computer. What classes do you need to take? You're going to go in and see your boss and say, I've been taking classes during this downtime, but now I have to show up and take this class in person, and this is when it is. So I'm going to need this hour and a half off. I'll make it up, at the other end. But life is only going to get busier from here on out, Roger. And if you don't get started on your goals and dreams now, seriously, it's not going to happen, because what do I say to you? Life interferes with living. Yeah, this is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. Here's what our customers had to say.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
If you're testing your blood sugar 4 or more times per day, injecting insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, a CGM can help you. It's accurate, easy to use, and if you have Medicare, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Plus, get free shipping of your new CGM, and we can bill Medicare for you.
Honestly, I had my doubts, but that new CGM is painless.
Call now. 800-712-8002. 800-712-8002. 800-712-8002. That's 800-712-8002.
Are you from California, Illinois, New York, Georgia, or any of the other 39 states that charge state income tax? Does your state claim you owe them any amount of back taxes? Or have you not filed in years? Is your heart pounding because you know they're wrong, or you just don't have the money? Don't fight the state income tax board alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you. The state is much more aggressive than the IRS in collecting taxes. They have the power to take your home, your car, your driver's and business licenses, even garnish your wages, freeze your bank accounts, and go after your spouse. Solve all your income tax problems permanently and keep more of your hard-earned money. Make this 100% guaranteed risk-free call right now.
800-262-4182. 800-262-4182. 800-262-4182. That's 800-262-4182.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Thank you for joining us. This is the Dr. Claudia Show. This would not be any fun without you. Hey, so apparently we Americans have made an average of 6 new friends since we've started video chatting and having Zoom conferences. Did you collect more friends along the way? How's that feeling to you? Okay, here's Bruce. Bruce says, I have terrible allergies. I always have. Nothing helps. I've been to allergists, ear, nose, throat specialists, doctors who are specialists in immune systems. I've lived in several places in the country, and it's always a problem. Typically, if I was having a serious episode, people might look at me and I might say, pray for me, miserable allergies, nothing helps, right? Because you're just trying to get them on your side. they'd smile and keep going. But in these pandemic times, people are saying, you need to stay home. You're sick. Mind you, I don't blame them, but I'm starting to get a little concerned for my safety. Considering that some folks have gotten a bit insistent, shall we say, what would you recommend? Okay, get a t-shirt made. I'm not kidding. Even if you have to do it, with supplies you have at home. Have it say, I know you're worried. I have severe allergies. I'm not sick. Now, why are we doing that? Because you're going to reduce the anxiety of the people around you. When people are afraid, they get aggressive. If they think you're being an irresponsible citizen and you're sick and you're not home and you're spreading this stuff all over God's green earth, then yeah, no wonder. No wonder they're getting insistent. And they may think it's a little funny, and you can say, listen, this is miserable. I've suffered with this all of my life. It's terrible. I met a clerk in a local store where I shop for linens and stuff like that. And she was just miserable, sick. And I said to her, I hope that's allergies. And she said, oh, yeah. She went into a story about how this has impacted her all of her life, and all of her family has it, so it's a genetic problem. They've been tested, and they've got some kind of gene that's a little wonky. But she got very emotional about it. I mean, I was pleasant to her and all, but, it's the coronavirus, right? It doesn't usually hit people in, like, upper respiratory ways, but who knows? She talked about how she's never had a date, that she'll never get married and have children. She would never want to pass this on to a child. But with the drippage, I mean, that is not attractive. But most of us aren't concerned about that. We're concerned about getting sick. Now, there were two other ladies who were kind of listening to this conversation, and I encountered them when I was checking out. And one lady said, wow, I'm so glad you asked her about that. I thought she had the coronavirus. And I said, well, listen, that stuff usually starts with a dry cough, and she didn't appear to be out of breath, so let's not worry. But you are in a particularly difficult situation, because if you were to take a real antihistamine like Benadryl, you're so drowsy you can't even function. And if you use Benadryl for too long, pay attention to this, people who have allergies. If you use Benadryl every day, the studies show that it can impact your memory. So I say that the only real thing you can do is to gather data, Bruce, and be intelligent about this. There is a website, and I'm going to put this up on show notes today. It's 4 A's, AAAI, the American Academy of Asthma, Allergy, and Immunology. And they can give you a really good feel for what the pollen is and how bad it is in your area. If you don't want to do that, all you have to do is look at the weather. If it's rainy, you're probably not going to have as many problems as it is if it's hot and dry and the wind is blowing. But know this, here's what I want you to pay attention to. There is lots of information now about how allergies can make you depressed and possibly lead to suicidal thoughts because of the way the cytokine storm interferes with your brain soup. Now, cytokines are those proteins that get released and they communicate to other cells, and they get really messed with when you are having an allergic reaction or a cold. It's that whole dynamic that makes you feel like you have a brain fog when you're having a severe allergy attack or you have a cold. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be suicidal, but keep your finger on the pulse of your emotional life, because if you can't get any relief from these allergies, Bruce, you may end up feeling hopeless and helpless, pretty much what I was seeing from that young woman. And you might want to do something really different. Go to the National, and I'll put this on the show notes today, the National Institutes of Health and Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Now, there are 27 institutes that make up the National Institutes of Health, and we've seen Dr. Fauci, and he is actually the director of the Allergy and Infectious Diseases Institute because, the coronavirus is infectious. See if there are any clinical trials that you might want to get involved with. I know it's risky. They do their best to reduce the risk associated with using an experimental medication. But what have you got to lose? I mean, seriously, if you don't advocate for yourself, I doubt if anyone else is actually going to. So get involved with something that may improve the quality of life, because if you're as drippy and sneezy and, okay, I'm just going to say it, unattractive, unappealing, as this young woman, your social life is in the dumpster. And people who look like her are not going to get promoted. She had talked about how many times she'd been fired because everybody thinks you're sick. We can't have this. So this is a huge deal, a very huge deal. Get into the National Institutes of Health online and see what they've got going on. Maybe they can actually learn from you so that someone else can be helped. Okay, consider this from the Dalai Lama. Here's what he says, Bruce. The purpose of our lives is to be happy. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
The Dr. Claudia Show educates and informs. No therapeutic relationship is established between the listener and Dr. Claudia. No liability will be assumed by Dr. Claudia or this station for any alleged damage. For professional help, please consult a specialist.
Are you from California, Illinois, New York, Georgia, or any of the other 39 states that charge state income tax? Does your state claim you owe them any amount of back taxes? Or have you not filed in years? Is your heart pounding because you know they're wrong or you just don't have the money? Don't fight the state income tax board alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you. The state is much more aggressive than the IRS in collecting taxes. They have the power to take your home, your car, your driver's and business licenses, even garnish your wages, freeze your bank accounts, and go after your spouse. Solve all your income tax problems permanently and keep more of your hard-earned money. Make this 100% guaranteed risk-free call right now.
800-262-4182. 800-262-4182. 800-262-4182. That's 800-262